the doctor slipped me a secret note that read, "Don't go home. Run." That night, I discovered my own family was planning to have me buried alive in a nursing home to steal a fortune they never knew I had. But what they didn't know was that their frail old woman was about to teach them a lesson in betrayal they would never forget. My name is Agnes Miller, and I am 72 years old. For 47 years, I thought I had raised a loving son. William came into my life when he was just 2, an abandoned boy my late husband, Arthur, and I adopted. With all the love in my heart, I gave him everything: a top-tier education, unwavering affection, and decades of sacrifice. When Arthur passed away 10 years ago, Will became my entire world, along with his wife, Catherine, and my granddaughter, Sarah. But that Tuesday, during what should have been a routine doctor's appointment, my world shattered. Dr. David Chen, my trusted physician for over 20 years, examined me as he always did, but his demeanor was off. His hands trembled slightly as he checked my blood pressure, and he deliberately avoided my gaze. "Everything looks good, Mrs. Miller," he said, his voice strained. "Your labs are perfect. Your heart is strong. You have many good years ahead of you." As I stood up to leave, I felt him move behind me. While I was grabbing my purse from the chair, Dr. Chen discreetly slipped a folded piece of paper into the side pocket. He did it so swiftly, I almost missed it. "Take good care, Agnes," he said, forcing a smile. "And remember, family isn't always what it seems." His words sent a chill down my spine. What did he mean? Why the secrecy? I left the office with my heart pounding, deciding not to read the note until I was home. During the cab ride through the familiar Denver suburbs, 1,000 thoughts raced through my mind. Dr. Chen had never been anything but a consummate professional. Why would he resort to secret messages now? When I arrived at my cozy 2-story home, Will, Catherine, and Sarah were in the living room, talking in hushed tones. They fell silent the moment they saw me. Catherine was holding several documents, which she quickly hid behind her back. "How was your appointment, Mom?" Will asked, his smile never quite reaching his eyes. "Everything's fine, dear," I replied, trying to sound normal. "The doctor said I'm in perfect health." Catherine exchanged a look with Will that I couldn't miss. Were they disappointed? Were they hoping for bad news? "That's great, Grandma," Sarah said, but her voice was strangely cold. "It means you have plenty of time left to enjoy yourself." That night at dinner, the atmosphere was thick with a tension you could cut with a knife. Will barely spoke. Catherine answered in monosyllables, and Sarah kept her eyes glued to her phone. "Is something wrong?" I finally asked. "No, Mom. Everything's fine," Will replied too quickly. "We're just tired." After dinner, I went to my room with a heavy heart. I knew something was deeply wrong, and the doctor's warning was screaming in my mind. If you're enjoying this story and want to see how it unfolds, please take a moment to hit that like button, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to Auntie Carol Tells Stories for more stories of justice and karma. Now, back to that fateful night. With trembling hands, I took the paper from my purse and unfolded it. The words took my breath away. "Agnes, your family was here yesterday. Catherine asked about your mental state and if I could certify that you need specialized care. They want to put you in a home. They also asked about your inheritance and assets. Don't go home. Run. Dr. Chen." My hands began to shake uncontrollably. My own family, the son I raised with so much love, the daughter-in-law I treated like my own child, my granddaughter, who was my everything. Suddenly, it all made sense. The strange looks, the whispers, the hidden papers. They weren't disappointed because I was in good health. They were furious because Dr. Chen hadn't cooperated with their monstrous plan. I couldn't sleep that night. Every creak of the old house made me jump. I lay awake, listening, trying to understand how my life had led to this point. How was it possible that the family for whom I had sacrificed everything was now conspiring against me? At 2 a.m., I heard voices from the kitchen. I crept out of bed and tiptoed to my door, pressing my ear against the cool wood. I could clearly hear Will, Catherine, and Sarah talking, their voices low, but loud enough for me to understand every venomous word. The damn doctor wouldn't cooperate, Catherine said with irritation. I explained that the old lady is losing her mind, that she sometimes doesn't recognize anyone, that she leaves the stove on, but he insisted she's perfectly fine. Relax, honey, Will replied. We'll find another doctor, one who's willing to sign the papers we need for a price. But what do we do with her in the meantime? Sarah asked impatiently. I've already been accepted to my dream college in California. I need that tuition money now, not in 5 years, when she finally kicks the bucket. Sarah, don't talk like that, Will scolded, though without any real conviction. But you have a point. We need to act fast. This house alone is worth nearly $1 million in this market. With her pension and savings, we could live comfortably until she's gone, Catherine finished coldly. Look, I didn't marry into this family to take care of a senile old woman. I married you because I thought you'd inherit soon, but it's been 10 years, and she's still here, spending our money. Our money, I repeated silently, feeling a cold rage begin to bloom in my chest. All my money, earned with my and my late husband's hard work, they saw as their own. Tomorrow I'm going to talk to a lawyer, Will continued. I'll ask if we can have her declared incompetent without a doctor's full consent. There has to be a legal loophole. And if that doesn't work, Catherine added, her voice dripping with malice, we can always make her life a living hell until she chooses to go to a home herself. Take away her TV. Don't cook for her. Treat her like what she is, a burden. Mom, don't be so cruel, Sarah said, but then added, though honestly I'm so tired of pretending to love her. She's always there, butting into our conversations, asking why we're out so late. It's insufferable. My legs began to tremble. I leaned against the wall, feeling my world crumbling around me. These were the people for whom I had worked double shifts when Will was little, for whom I had given up my dreams, my friendships, my own life. And what bothers me the most, Catherine added, is that she's always bragging about what a good mother she was, about all she sacrificed for Will, as if she were some kind of saint. The truth is, she adopted him because she couldn't have her own kids. She used him to fill her own emptiness. Enough already, Will said, but his voice sounded weary, not indignant. Look, in a week, I'll talk to her. I'll tell her we found a very nice assisted living facility, that it would be better for her to be with people her own age. And if she refuses, we use Plan B. What's Plan B? Sarah asked. We make her really lose her mind, Will replied coldly. We switch her medications for something that causes confusion. We hide her things. We tell her she did things she never did. In a month, any doctor will certify that she's mentally ill. The horror of his words hit me like a physical blow. They didn't just want to rob me. They wanted to destroy my mind, my dignity, my very sanity. They wanted to turn me into the caricature they claimed I already was. "It's perfect," Catherine said, her voice filled with excitement. "And once she's committed, we'll have access to all her accounts. We can sell the house, collect her pension, and do whatever we want without anyone bothering us." "Exactly," Will confirmed. "And the best part is, no one will suspect a thing. To the outside world, we're the perfect family, lovingly taking care of a sick grandmother." They laughed. All three of them laughed, as if they had just shared the funniest joke in the world. They laughed at me, at my naivety, at my unconditional love for them. In that moment, something inside me broke. It wasn't my heart. That had already been shattered when I read the doctor's note. What broke was my blind faith in goodness, my belief that love is always reciprocated, my conviction that family is sacred. They were right about one thing, though. I had become isolated. I had no close friends left, no other family. I was, in their eyes, completely vulnerable. But what they didn't know, what they had never bothered to find out, was that I had a secret that would completely change the balance of power. When Arthur died, he left me with more than just love and memories. He left me with an inheritance I had kept hidden all these years. $3.5 million in an offshore bank account, along with 2 properties in Europe he had bought as investments. I never told Will because I wanted him to love me for who I was, not for what I had. I wanted him to build his own life, to be independent. But now I realized I had been a fool. He had never loved me. He had just been patiently waiting for me to die so he could inherit the little he thought I had. I heard their footsteps retreating toward their rooms. I stayed there, frozen, the doctor's note clutched in my hand. He was right. I had to run. But I wasn't going to run like a scared victim. I was going to run like a woman who had just woken up from a 47-year-long dream. I was going to run to plan the most perfect, devastating revenge they could ever imagine. I spent the rest of the night planning. I didn't sleep a wink, but for the first time in months, I felt completely awake. I knew I had to act fast and with precision. They had underestimated the senile old lady, but they would soon discover they had woken up a sleeping giant. At 5 a.m., when I was sure everyone was deep in sleep, I silently took out my smallest suitcase and packed only the essentials: personal documents, a few changes of clothes, my medications, and most importantly, the small, leather-bound notebook where I had written down all the details of my secret accounts. Before leaving, I decided to do something that would give me a strategic advantage. I took out my phone and activated the voice recorder. Then, pretending I had forgotten something, I walked back through the house, making sure to pass near Will and Catherine's room. As I expected, they were already awake, whispering about their plans for the day. Catherine was talking about making copies of my cards, while Will mentioned his appointment with a lawyer to ask about the declaration of incompetence. "Do you think she suspects anything?" Catherine asked, a hint of worry in her voice. "Impossible," Will replied, with arrogance. "She's too old and trusting. Besides, what could she do? She has nowhere to go. She has no real money of her own. She has no friends. We're all she has. It's pathetic," Catherine added with contempt. "A 72-year-old woman who is completely dependent on us. Now she's going to pay for that decision. Perfect. I had recorded enough to sink them. I left a note on the kitchen table that read, "Gone to run some errands. I'll be back later." Agnes, I knew they wouldn't suspect a thing. I took a cab to the nearest bank. It was Wednesday morning, and I had a few hours before my family would realize something was wrong. At the bank, I withdrew $5,000 in cash and verified that my secret accounts were intact. After the bank, I took another cab to the most elegant hotel in the city, the Grand Summit. I needed a safe and comfortable place to plan my next moves. "How long will you be staying with us?" the receptionist asked. "I'm not sure," I replied. "It could be a week. It could be several months. It depends on how certain family matters unfold." She nodded and assigned me a suite on the 10th floor. As I went up in the elevator, I felt a mix of terror and exhilaration. For the first time in decades, I was making decisions solely for myself. The suite was beautiful, spacious, with a breathtaking view of the city. I sat on the sofa and finally allowed my emotions to overwhelm me. I cried for the 47 years I had dedicated to a son who saw me as nothing more than an obstacle. I cried for the woman I used to be, but after the tears, I wiped my face and began to plan. I took out my notebook and made a list. First, contact my financial advisors in Zurich to activate my accounts. Second, hire the best lawyer in Denver. Third, find a private investigator to document every single lie my family had told. At 2 p.m., my phone rang. It was Will. "Mom, where are you? It's 2 o'clock and you haven't come back." His voice sounded worried, but I could detect the irritation beneath it. "I'm fine, son," I replied calmly. "I decided to take a day for myself." "A day for yourself? What does that mean? Where are you?" His voice was now clearly annoyed. "I'm in the city, taking care of some things." "Don't worry, I'll be back when I'm finished." "Mom, this isn't like you." "You always let us know where you're going. Catherine is worried, and so is Sarah. We need to know where you are." For the first time, I detected panic in his voice. He wasn't worried about my well-being. He was worried because he had lost control. "You know what, William?" I said, with a calmness that surprised even me. "I'm 72 years old. I think I'm old enough to decide where I go and what I do." There was a tense silence. "Mom, you're scaring me. You don't sound like yourself. Are you taking your medications?" There it was. He was already planting the seed of my supposed mental instability. "I'm perfectly fine, son. In fact, I've never been better," I replied and hung up. I immediately turned off my phone. That afternoon, I hired the most prestigious law firm in the city. The head attorney, a sharp man in his 50s, named Jonathan Reed, received me personally when I mentioned the amount of money I was willing to pay. "I need complete legal protection," I explained. "My family is trying to have me declared incompetent to take control of my assets, but I have recordings that prove it's a conspiracy." Mr. Reed's expression grew more serious as I played the recording I had made that morning. "Mrs. Miller, this is very serious," he said finally. "What your family is planning constitutes elder abuse, conspiracy to commit fraud, and potentially forgery of documents. We could prosecute them criminally." "That's exactly what I want," I replied with determination, "but I want to do it strategically. I want them to pay in the most painful way possible." Mr. Reed smiled, the smile of a shark who had just scented blood. "Mrs. Miller, I think you and I are going to work very well together." I told him everything about adopting Will, about my husband, about the secret inheritance. Do you know exactly how much money you have in your secret accounts? He asked. $3.5 million in cash, plus 2 properties in Europe worth approximately $1.5 million more, I replied. Mr. Reed stopped writing and looked at me with new respect. Mrs. Miller, you are not just a victim of family abuse. You are a very powerful woman who has been underestimated. We are going to use that power to teach them the lesson of their lives. For the first time in days, I smiled genuinely. The war had begun, and now I had the right weapons. That night, from the comfort of my hotel suite, I turned on my phone to check my messages. 37 missed calls from Will, 15 from Catherine, and 8 from Sarah. The texts were increasingly desperate. I decided to reply only to Will. I'm fine. Don't worry. I'll come back when I'm ready. The response was immediate. Mom, this isn't normal. You need to come home now. Catherine made your favorite dinner, his favorite dinner. As if, after 47 years, he didn't know Catherine had never cooked anything special for me. The next day, Mr. Reed called me early. Agnes, I have some interesting news. My private investigator has already started working and has discovered something important. Your daughter-in-law, Catherine, has been using your personal information to apply for credit cards in your name for the past 6 months. What? I exclaimed, feeling indignation boil in my chest. She has 5 credit cards that you never authorized with an accumulated debt of $43,000. Purchases at luxury stores, expensive restaurants, even a trip to the Florida Keys last month, the lawyer explained. But I've never been to the Florida Keys, I said, confused. No, ma'am. They went. Your family took a week-long vacation on your dime while they told you they were going to visit Catherine's sick mother. The memory hit me like a slap. I remembered that week perfectly. Catherine had cried, saying her mother was gravely ill. I had even given them cash for the trip. What else did your investigator discover? I asked, fearing the answer. Your son, Will, lost his job 8 months ago, but he never told you. He has been living off your savings and pension. We also discovered that he has already contacted 3 different doctors, trying to find one willing to certify that you suffer from senile dementia. Each revelation was a deeper stab. Not only had they planned to rob me, but they had already been doing it for months. And my granddaughter, Sarah? I asked, my voice breaking. She also has her secrets, Agnes. She's 3 months pregnant, but she's lying to her parents about the father. Apparently, the real father is a married man in his 50s who promised to leave his wife, but now wants nothing to do with the baby. Oh my God, I whispered. My granddaughter, the girl I had helped raise, was involved in a scandal that could destroy her future. There's more, Mr. Reed continued. Catherine has been having an affair with your neighbor, Dave, for the past 2 years. My investigator has photographs and videos. Dave, Carol's husband, the sweet woman who lived next door. The irony was brutal. While they were planning to destroy my life by accusing me of being crazy, each of them was living a lie far more depraved than anything they could invent about me. That afternoon, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went shopping. I bought 3 beautiful dresses, an elegant black one, a vibrant red one, and an emerald green one that made me feel powerful. I also got my hair done at the city's most exclusive salon. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize the woman looking back. My hair was styled in a modern, elegant cut that framed my face, bringing out a strength I had forgotten I possessed. I looked powerful. That night, dining in the hotel restaurant, I decided to call Will. Mom, finally. Where the hell have you been? His voice was furious. Taking care of myself, son, I replied calmly. It's been very revealing. Mom, this has to stop. You can't just disappear. We're your family. We have a right to know where you are. A right? I repeated. Since when does my family have a right over me? Since, and you started acting erratically, he shot back. Erratic? Does it seem erratic that a 72-year-old woman decides to take a few days for herself? Yes. Mom, I think you need to talk to a specialist. A specialist? I asked, feigning confusion. What kind of specialist, Will? A psychologist, Mom. Someone who can help you with these behavioral changes. Perfect. He was admitting his intentions on a call I was recording. You know what, son? You're right. I do need specialized help, I told him, and I could hear his sigh of relief. Yes, I understand perfectly. I need a specialist in family fraud, a specialist in elder abuse, and a specialist in psychological manipulation, because that's exactly what you all have been doing to me. The silence on the other end was deafening. Mom, what are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that I know everything, Will. I know about the fake credit cards Catherine took out. I know about your plan to have me declared incompetent. I know about the doctors you've contacted. I know you lost your job 8 months ago and have been living off my money. I know about the trip to the Florida Keys. I know things that are going to surprise you a lot when you see them in court. You're delirious, he said, but his voice no longer sounded sure. Delirious? Last night I heard you planning how to make me really go crazy by switching my medications. Is that a delusion, too? This time, the silence was even longer. Mom, come home. We can talk about this. No, Will. We are no longer a family. A family doesn't betray you this way. I'm going to give you one chance. Confess everything, apologize, and return every penny you've stolen. If you do that, maybe I can find a way to forgive you. We have nothing to confess, he replied, his voice trembling. Then I'll see you in court, son. Have a good night. I hung up the phone, feeling completely at peace. The war had been officially declared. The following days were a whirlwind. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. First, they tried manipulation, crying messages from Sarah, feigned apologies from Catherine. When that didn't work, they switched to threats. Will left a voicemail saying, Mom, if you don't come back immediately, we're going to have to take legal measures to protect you from yourself. But Mr. Reed had prepared me. Let them file for guardianship, he advised. It will be the best evidence we could have of their true intentions. Meanwhile, my investigator was unearthing more filth. Agnes, he told me, your family has accelerated their plans. Yesterday, Will went to your bank, trying to access your accounts, saying you'd had a psychotic episode. Catherine has been selling your antique furniture online. Sarah has been telling friends you have advanced Alzheimer's and borrowing money for your medical care. But the most damning discovery was this. Last night, the three of them met with a man named Paul Hayes, a known document forger. They're planning to create fake medical documents to certify your mental incompetence. This was far worse than I had imagined. They were willing to commit serious crimes. Mr. Reed, I said over the phone, it's time for Phase 2. Phase 2 was brilliant. Instead of confronting them directly, we would let them incriminate themselves publicly. On Monday morning, I dressed in my new elegant black dress and headed to Denver's most prestigious real estate office. I had an appointment to view luxury properties. Mrs. Miller, the agent, Rick, greeted me. I understand you're interested in a high-value property. That's right, I replied with confidence. I'm looking for a house that reflects my new stage of life. Something over $1 million. What Rick didn't know was that my private investigator had coordinated everything. At 11 a.m., just as we were viewing a spectacular mansion, Will, Catherine, and Sarah would coincidentally appear at the same office. We were in the middle of the tour when I heard familiar voices. "Excuse me, Rick," I said. "I think some acquaintances just arrived." We walked into the main lobby, and there they were, talking to another agent. "We're interested in selling a property," I heard Will say. "It's my mother's house, but she's ill, and we have legal power of attorney to handle her affairs." "Power of attorney?" the agent asked. "Could you show me the documentation?" "Well, we're still processing the official papers," Catherine replied nervously, "but it's just a matter of days." "Hello, family," I said loudly from the grand staircase. The three of them turned, and their faces were a cinematic picture of horror. Will turned pale, Catherine's mouth fell open, and Sarah took a step back. "Mom," Will stammered. What are you doing here?" "The same thing you are, apparently," I replied calmly, "although I'm buying, not selling." Rick, my agent, approached with a smile. "Do you know these people, Mrs. Miller?" "Unfortunately, yes," I replied. "This is my family." Or so I thought. "Mom, we need to talk," Will said, trying to sound authoritative. "About what, Will?" "About how you were planning to sell my house without my authorization? About the fake documents you're processing? Or about the power of attorney you just mentioned that doesn't exist?" The other agent looked completely uncomfortable. "Excuse me," he interrupted. "If there is a legal conflict, we cannot proceed." "There's no conflict," Catherine said desperately. "It's just that she hasn't been right in the head lately." "I'm not right in the head?" I repeated, raising my voice so everyone could hear. "Is that why I'm here buying $1 billion and a half house with my own money?" Rick's jaw dropped. $1.5 million? Sarah whispered. "Oh yes, dear granddaughter," I said with a sweet smile. "It turns out your senile grandmother has a lot more money than you ever imagined." I took out my phone and dialed Mr. Reed's number. "Jonathan, I'm at Richardson and Associates Realty. My family is here trying to sell my property without authorization." "Of course, Agnes." "Someone will be there in 15 minutes, I hung up. "Now, we're going to wait for my lawyers," I announced, "and they're going to explain to everyone here exactly what legal documents you have." "Mom, this is a misunderstanding," Will pleaded. "No," I said firmly. "There is nothing left to solve. I no longer have a home with you in it. Everything we've done has been for your own good," Catherine cried. "For my own good?" I asked, "stealing my money with fake credit cards, planning to forge medical documents, hiring a criminal to fake my medical history? Was that for my own good?" The office was silent, every eye on us. "You don't know what you're talking about," Sarah lied. "Oh, I don't." I took out my phone and played the recording. Will's voice filled the space. "We make her really lose her mind. We switch her medications. We hide her things." The silence was deafening. Just then, 2 lawyers from Mr. Reed's firm arrived. "Mrs. Miller." "We're from Reed and Associates." One of them turned to Will. "Sir, could you please show me the documentation that supports your authority to sell Mrs. Miller's property?" Will opened and closed his mouth like a fish out of water. The public humiliation was just the beginning. That afternoon, Mr. Reed summoned me to his office. "Agnes, I have extraordinary news," he said with a wide smile. "Your family made a critical mistake after the real estate office." In their desperation, Will went directly to the forger, Paul Hayes, and paid him $50,000 in advance to speed up the creation of your fake medical documents and a forged will. "A forged will," I gasped. "Yes, but here's the best part. Paul Hayes is an FBI informant. He's been collaborating with the authorities for months. The FBI has audio and video recordings of the entire transaction." I was speechless. My family was now under federal investigation. That night, I decided to confront them one last time, but not face to face. I opened my laptop and created an account on a popular live streaming platform. My title was simple: A Grandmother Tells the Truth About Her Perfect Family. At 8 p.m., I started my stream. Within an hour, there were over 3,000 viewers. "Good evening," I began. "My name is Agnes Miller, and tonight I'm going to tell you a story that will change the way you see perfect families." I told them everything, playing the recordings and showing the documents. The comments were overwhelmingly supportive. Then, in the middle of my stream, I received a live call. It was Sarah. "Grandma, please turn this off," she pleaded. "You're ruining our lives." "I'm ruining your lives?" I repeated for my audience. "Don't you think you all ruined mine first?" "Everyone is watching us. My friends, my teachers. I can't even leave the house. And how do you think I would feel? Locked away in a nursing home, declared mentally incompetent, with all my money stolen." The live comments exploded. A few minutes later, Will called, furious. "Mom, turn this off right now. This is defamation. I'm going to sue you." "Is it slander to play audio recordings of you planning a crime, Will?" "Is it slander to show bank statements proving you've been stealing from me?" I asked. "But tell me, do you want to explain to the 5,000 people watching why you paid a document forger $50,000 yesterday?" The silence was long and heavy. How do you know that?" "Because Paul Hayes is an FBI informant, Will. Congratulations. You're now being investigated not just for family fraud, but for federal conspiracy." His tone changed completely. "Mom," he said, his voice broken, "please stop this. We can fix it. We're family, aren't we?" "A family doesn't do this, Will," I replied with genuine sadness. "What you are is a criminal organization that happens to share a last name. We gave you 47 years of our lives." "No, I gave you 47 years of my life. I gave up everything for you, and you were just waiting for me to die. We needed the money, Mom. We have debts, problems. And that's why you decided to destroy me?" It wasn't personal. Those 3 words were his death sentence. It wasn't personal. "You're right, Will," I said finally. "It wasn't personal for you. And from now on, it won't be personal for me either. I'll see you in court." I ended the stream with over 7,000 viewers and went to sleep, feeling that, for the first time, I was not alone. The next day, I received an unexpected call. It was Sarah, her voice genuinely broken. "Grandma, can we please talk? Just you and me. I need to tell you the truth." We met at the hotel cafe. She arrived with swollen eyes and confessed everything. Will had massive gambling debts. Catherine had been planning this for months, and then came the final betrayal. "Last night," Sarah cried, "Dad told me that if everything goes wrong, They're going to say it was my idea. They're going to blame me to save themselves. I looked at my granddaughter, pregnant and terrified. Do you have proof of this? She took out her phone. I have recordings of all their fights since you left. I have texts where they plan to blame me. What do you want, Sarah? I want you to forgive me, she sobbed. And I want you to know that if you testify against them, I will too. I will tell the truth about everything. Why the change of heart? Because I realize now they were never going to protect me. They were going to sacrifice me. I shook her hand. Deal, my girl. But now you're my ally, and allies protect each other. Are you ready for that? More ready than I've ever been for anything, she said. The trial came 3 weeks later. Will and Catherine foolishly pleaded not guilty. The courtroom was packed. The prosecutor masterfully presented the evidence, the recordings, the bank statements, the testimony from the FBI about Paul Hayes. But the most shocking moment came when Sarah took the stand. With a firm, clear voice, she narrated every conversation, every plan, every betrayal. The defense attorney tried to discredit her, but she stood her ground. When it was my turn, I looked directly at Will. They didn't just betray me, I told the jury. They made me question if I was ever anything more than an obstacle between them and my money. But now I feel free. Free from the lies and free from the obligation to love people who never truly loved me. The jury deliberated for just 2 hours, guilty on all counts. Will was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. Catherine received 10. As we left the courthouse, a reporter asked if I felt justice was served. I feel that legal justice was served, I replied, but the real justice was discovering who I truly am before it was too late. 6 months later, I bought a beautiful new house. It's smaller, but it's filled with light and has a lovely garden where Sarah and I spend our afternoons. She finished high school with honors and decided to keep the baby. She's now studying law, inspired by our ordeal, and wants to specialize in protecting the elderly. My grandson, Arthur, named after his great-grandfather, is the light of my life. I have traveled, made new friends, and started a foundation to prevent elder abuse. My life is fuller now, at 73, than it has ever been. I finally learned to love myself as much as I loved everyone else my whole life. And that, my dears, is the most valuable lesson of all.